Hello, everyone. Hello to the back of the room. Can you hear me in the back corner? Could you wave if you can hear me okay? Thanks very much. And in that corner, thank you very much. Thanks for taking your seats. Much appreciated. My name is David Gray. I'm the host of the Calgary Eye-Opener on CBC Radio 1. Well, thank you for the one person who applauded. That's very kind of you. That was a terrible dig for applause. Okay, for those of you who don't listen to the show, it's a great pleasure to meet you. It was nice to talk with some people on my way in. For those of you who do listen to the show, I promise you it's a little weird for me to see what you look like too. You're all taller and much better good looking somehow. On behalf of Calgary Economic Development, welcome all of you to the Calgary TELUS Convention Centre and to Calgary Economic Development's report to the community. If you're worried that you're missing the beautiful 27 degrees that my counterpart Angela promised today, it's not that warm outside, nor is it sunny, so it's okay to be here. Before we get started, I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge that we are here today on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot and of the people of the Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta. I like that we say those words now in this city. I hope that tradition continues. Innovation is the big theme today. I hope you all had a chance to walk around Innovation Alley and see what's out there. Calgary Economic Development invited over a dozen local companies to showcase what they had, some very cool stuff. We saw 3D printing, drones, wearable technology, quite a nice array. I've been told our goal today is to have a great event and have everyone out of here by 1:30, which is a reminder to our speakers that no one ever complained that a speech was too short. Something to keep in mind. We've got a lot of special guests today, and I'm just going to name them if I can. If I name you, please wave or stand up, if you could. It will make it easier for others in the room to hit you up for cash later. Let's start with Honourable Darren Billis. He's right down in front. Honourable Kathleen Ganley, the Minister of Justice, is here as well. Graham Sucha, NDP MLA for Calgary Shaw. There you are, Graham. Jamie Kleinstuber, MLA for Calgary North Hills. Robin Luff, NDP MLA for Calgary East. I've got a wave over here. Sandra Jansen, are you here? NDP MLA for Calgary Northwest in the corner. Michael Connolly, NDP MLA for Calgary Hawkwood. You're here somewhere as well. Oh, I think I saw him at the back. Okay. We've almost got quorum. We could pass a bill. Thank you for coming. Greg Clark, leader of the Alberta Party and MLA for Calgary Elbow. There's Greg over there. Rick McIver, Conservative MLA for Calgary Hayes. Where are you, Rick? Right down in front here. Good. Richard Gottfried, Conservative MLA for Calgary Fish Creek. Thank you. And we are pleased to have many members of City Council, including Richard Putmans. Where are you, Richard? Great. Brian Pincott. Somewhere. Sean Chu. There's Sean. Great. Andre Chabot. Man running for mayor. Okay. Ray Jones. Drew Farrell. There's Drew. Jim Stevenson. We've got a lot of city councils here. Must be an election year. That's great. And I think I just got a note that Dave Rodney's also here. MLA Dave Rodney. Where are you, Dave? Thanks. Right down in front. Great. So thanks all of you for coming. Over the next 2 hours, we're going to learn about a lot of the work that Calgary Economic Development did in 2016 and the good impacts it's having on our city. And then we're going to do something a little different. We're going to hold a pachaka-cha. Does everybody know what a pachaka-cha is? I got a woo somewhere. All you hipsters in the crowd going, oh, it's a pachaka-cha. That's great. We're going to have a bunch of people come up, and they're going to give very quick presentations. They get 20 slides and 20 seconds per slide. That's a pachaka-cha, and they're going to make their pitch, and they're going to do that just a little bit later. We've got 5 companies willing to play along. Each will give a rapid-fire look at how innovation and technology are changing our key industries. Now, this is the airline steward part of the presentation. I have to mention a few basic housekeeping things. The washrooms are on the right, I believe, over here. I was terrible at this. Should a fire alarm sound, listen for instructions, but go to the nearest exit in a calm and orderly manner. See if you can beat the politicians out. Exits are well marked at the front, back, and side of the room, and go through the main hallway to exits that lead down the stairs, okay? Be sure to join the conversation on social media for those of you on Twitter. It's hashtag RTC2017YYC. That's easy to remember. RTC 2017 sadly was taken by a Romanian conference going on right now. If you'd like to speak with them, you can use that hashtag. If not, add YYC. And you can send me snide remarks at Gradio1, Graydio1. So, please do start eating. Don't wait for me. We're almost ready. We're almost done the housekeeping part. At the close of today's event, there's going to be a draw for 2 tickets. They're right here, and these 2 tickets will take you anywhere that WestJet flies. So, staff from Calgary Economic Development will come around and collect business cards for the draw at the end of the program if you waive them. Be advised, you must be present at the end to win those tickets, I'm told, for those of you trying to sneak out early. Let's hear now from the person who runs this building, Clark Grouet, the CEO of Calgary TELUS Convention Centre. He has a few words.
Well, thank you, and good morning, everyone. Welcome to Calgary's TELUS Convention Centre here in the heart of downtown Calgary. This is an exciting day and an exciting event. Calgary Economic Development's Report to Community has been a signature event for many years in the city, and I'm certainly looking forward to hearing Mary Moran speak about the great things that Calgary Economic Development is doing. As many of you know, Calgary is a great place to live and work, learn and innovate, connect and create. It's a fantastic place to grow. In our very short 133 years, Calgary has established itself as a center of innovation, a place where people convene, learn, collaborate, and create. As such a young city, we are truly Canada's melting pot of culture, religion, entrepreneurship, and art. We're a unique Canadian city which offers young people education, opportunity, and a chance to grow. We've always been that place that offers a fresh start for Canadians. This is why Calgary has doubled in size in the last 30 years. If we compare Calgary to Canada's other business gateway city, there are similarities and there are differences. We may not be as old or as recognized on the global stage as Toronto, but we should be, and we can be. Recognized, not old. When global companies look at Canada, there are 2 centers through which they can effectively access the entire country. This morning, you're sitting in one of them. Calgary represents new money, new investment, new opportunity. Our business base and innovative mindset are unique and special and something to be proud of and to leverage. It's what brought me to this city 19 years ago. Here today, we're proud of our heritage, inclusiveness, our community engagement, and strong and resilient business community. The same business community that has adapted from agriculture to finance, transportation to oil and gas to energy, telecommunications, and health. Behind each of these transitions, innovation and entrepreneurship was the spark. Our team at the Calgary TELUS Convention Centre and Meetings and Conventions Calgary take great pride in this city. In fact, we are actively promoting and selling Calgary every day. Already in 2017, we have visited more than 24 target cities and pitched Calgary 500 times. So I'm very proud of my team that's doing that every day. The meetings and conventions industry brings people into this city and this province every day. Every year, thousands of business meetings take place either here at the Convention Centre, hotels, and other meeting facilities across Calgary. Whether it's 100 or 5,000 attendees, these meetings, conferences, and conventions bring more than just visitors to our cities. They attract business leaders, world-renowned academics, researchers, and innovators who contribute fresh ideas and inspiration which have a long-term impact in shaping our economy, our industries, and our city. This activity leaves an indelible impression on our city in the form of intellectual capital, investment, and global connectivity. So how do we engage the world? We at the Convention Centre work with Calgary leaders to position our city with decision makers who influence industry meetings around the world. Our Calgary Champions program invites Calgarians to leverage our resources to influence site selection for meetings, conferences, conventions, and congresses. We identify and work with these Calgary champions to bring the world to Calgary. Maybe each of you should become a Calgary champion. Venues such as the Convention Centre, BMO Centre, Scotiabank Saddledome, any of the fantastic Calgary hotels, Winsport, or one of the other Calgary hosting facilities are foundational for attracting world-class events, thought leaders, investors, and by extension, jobs to our city. These economic engines can either elevate our city on the global stage, or they can relegate us to Tier 2 status and stall opportunities for young professionals in the city. Investing in assets like hosting facilities, arenas, convention centers, and attractions will allow Calgary to define its own future. A future that ensures the world continues to bring opportunities to the city. A future that allows us to access world markets and deliver Canadian innovation and ideas to shape the global marketplace for years to come. We are here today to support Calgary Economic Development and the great work that they do. Our new strategic plan for the TELUS Convention Centre builds on the work done by Calgary Economic Development in establishing industry pillars. It also activates on Tourism Calgary's destination strategy as we reach out to the world in a more effective and targeted manner. We look forward to seeing you here at the Centre more often. As we rejuvenate this space, we hope you will engage, learn, celebrate, innovate, and grow here. I look forward to our future together, and I look forward to hearing how CED is reimagining our city. Thank you.
Thanks, Clark. For more now on that last point, I'd like to ask the Minister if he'll come up and join us. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honourable Darren Billis, Alberta's Minister for Economic Development and Trade.
All right, good morning, everyone, and thank you for that. It's a pleasure to be here today as we gather on the traditional Treaty 7 territory for the Calgary Economic Development Report to the community. And I want to start off by thanking Mary Moran and her team at Calgary Economic Development for the invitation to speak and for all of the hard work that they do. I'm honored to share the podium, or the teleprompter anyway, with your Mayor Naheed Nenshi, who it's unfortunate I'm not able to see him today, but he's with us absolutely in spirit, and shortly he'll have a message for all of us. So I'm very proud to be here on behalf of Premier Rachel Notley, a strong leader who's working hard every day to make life better for you and your families. I'm going to take my remarks by starting off with the current state of the economy. Now, we recognize that the sharp and sustained drop in world oil prices have affected Albertans everywhere, families, workers, communities, and businesses, but especially here in the city of Calgary. We know that many everyday Albertans are still struggling from the fallout of the price of oil, and I can tell you that is why we've been working hard and taking action through our Alberta Jobs Plan. Now, as the Minister of Finance often points out, we are seeing green shoots in our economy, and I want to share some interesting statistics with you. Alberta will lead the country in economic growth this year, putting us back on top where we belong. Our international exports climbed to $8.3 billion, more than 16% higher than a year ago. Last month, wholesale trade rose to its highest level in 2 years. Drilling starts are up over 130%, and oil sands production is expected to set records in 2017. We predict Alberta's GDP will grow about 2.6% this year, while the Conference Board of Canada is predicting 2.8%, which of course I like their numbers better. In 2016, we led the country in private capital investment at $53.8 billion, setting records in a variety of sectors. In oil and gas extraction, Alberta had the highest level of investment in 2016 at $24.7 billion, far ahead of the next highest jurisdiction, which was British Columbia at $4.5 billion. In 2017, our investments in oil and gas sector are forecast to grow by 2.4%. And again, we are on track to lead the country overall in private sector investment again this year, and by a significant margin. Economists are attributing our economic recovery that's rooted in investment confidence that has come from 2 new pipeline approvals, as well as our historic infrastructure build. And I do just want to mention that, again, from the Prime Minister's lips himself, the pipeline approval of Trans Mountain would not have come without the action that we are taking on the climate and climate leadership. So for Calgary and supports for Calgary, we recognize that there is, through the downturn, there's a significant number of office tower vacancies. This is why we teamed up with Calgary Economic Development to announce funding for our headquarter and investment attraction strategy, which I'm sure Mary will talk about a little bit. And this is also where recently Mary and Mayor Nenshi were down in Silicon Valley and invited me to attend their mission, which was very successful in meeting with a number of very high-profile companies to really showcase Alberta and, frankly, Calgary as the best place in Canada for companies if they're looking at setting up satellite offices, subsidiaries, or looking at having a larger footprint in Canada. My message to them was quite simple. If you take Calgary and compare it to any city across this country, from Toronto to Vancouver to Montreal, Calgary is the best city to invest in and is head and shoulders above the others when you look at the amount of talent that we have here. We are the youngest province, some of the most educated. You look at affordability rates, you look at proximity to the mountains. There are a number of reasons that, that Calgary truly is one of the best cities in the country, one of the best cities in the province to invest in. I was thrilled to see that the theme of this year is really around innovation, and I just want to take a couple minutes to talk about what we've been doing, both as the province of Alberta, but how we've been partnering with a number of organizations and entities. Last month, myself and Minister Schmidt, along with the 3 university presidents, led a trade mission to Ottawa. Sat down with 5 different federal cabinet ministers to talk about Alberta's innovation system, what we are doing and where we are going. And I can tell you that we, and through the work of Calgary Economic Development, Innovate Calgary, the University of Calgary, SAIT, other institutions, really positioning Calgary as the Clean Resource Innovation Network or Centre. I know that this is something that the Rainforest Group here in the city of Calgary have been working on. And frankly, Alberta is a place where we turn challenges into opportunities. One of those comes with an announcement we made not too long ago on the Carbon Conversion Technology Centre, which, for those of you who are unfamiliar with this, the province put in $10 million, the federal government put in $10 million. We partnered with COSIA and XPRIZE to use to build a facility off the Shepherd plant to commercialize the use of carbon. What I find fascinating is we're taking a byproduct and turning it into a valuable commodity. And one of the companies that is going to be in the conversion center basically takes CO2, injects it into cement, which decreases their cost. It increases their green footprint, but it actually makes the material much stronger. Again, this is a practical use of something that was a byproduct. And so this is, again, an example of the innovation that we have and we know that is going on here in Calgary and also in the province. As far as innovation goes, we recently consolidated our 4 different Alberta Innovates corporations into one to make it a much leaner, more effective entity, which we were very fortunate to attract Laura Kilcrease as the CEO of Alberta Innovates. For those that play in the innovation space will know of her. She was very instrumental in helping to transform Austin, Texas's innovation system, and is already hard at work here in the province of Alberta. One of the things that we've done to help support innovation was to increase funding through our voucher program for small and medium-sized businesses. There are a number of examples of incredible stories, but I know that my time up here is short, and for those of you that have heard me speak before, unfortunately I rarely stick to my time, but I promised Mary that I would stay within my 15-minute allotment. Entrepreneurs are people who see opportunity where others might only see challenges. We know that Alberta's small businesses with incubator supports have an average 25% growth rate compared to the national average, which is 5% growth rate. In order to continue to support our businesses and entrepreneurs, we've allocated $10 million for the 2-year Alberta Entrepreneurship Incubator Program. And what I can tell you is stay tuned in the near future for a Calgary-specific announcement. Regarding the 2 tax credits that we introduced last year, the investor tax credit and the capital investment tax credit, this is something that I'm very excited about, something that businesses that you have been asking for decades in the province, to have an opportunity for Albertans to invest in Alberta small and medium-sized businesses. I'm very proud of the fact that we passed legislation last fall, and I will give credit where credit's due. It passed unanimously in the legislature, and these tax credits are sector-wide, and I can tell you that I want to continue to encourage companies to look into these. These are ways and tools that we are providing with businesses to help them grow and scale up at a rate much quicker and faster than if we didn't have these tools available. For the venture capitalists and angels in the room, you'll be very well aware that in our regs, there was a little bit of a wrinkle as far as through the Alberta Enterprise Corporation, the Accelerate Fund, which is investing 100% in Alberta companies, that those originally weren't available for the tax credit. I can tell you that we moved very swiftly to address this problem, and those wrinkles have been ironed out. And again, the flow of capital into our province is going to continue at an incredible pace. As far as some of the work that we're doing abroad, I can tell you that Premier Notley was the first Premier in Canada to meet with the new American administration. We work very closely with the federal government and our partners. Just this week, we had a number of state senators that were up in Alberta. Myself and my colleagues had an opportunity to sit down with them to talk about trade between our 2 countries, and really to highlight the fact that our economies are highly integrated. And so we spoke of everything from NAFTA to the border adjustment tax to softwood lumber. And I can tell you that we are working very closely with our federal government to ensure that we deliver a message that helps our American friends and policymakers to understand the significance that Alberta and that our companies have on U.S. markets, on U.S. communities, and to highlight the fact that any changes that could negatively affect our companies will also negatively affect theirs. And we will continue to work with them. A quick little anecdote, when I was talking to Minister Freeland about her recent mission to the U.S., she sat down with the House Speaker, Paul Ryan, who of course represents the state of Wisconsin, and he had no idea that his state does $1 billion a year of trade with Canada. And so this, to me, highlights the fact that we have a great deal of work to do with our counterparts down in the U.S. to ensure that they are aware of just how important Alberta and Canada is to their economies. There are about 967,000 jobs created in the U.S. as a result of U.S. merchandise and service exports to Alberta. Alberta supplies 34% of U.S. crude, and we are their largest natural gas supplier. And I can tell you that more than 1,500 U.S. firms in 49 different U.S. states supply goods and services to our oil sands industry. Again, this highlights the fact that our 2 economies are completely integrated. As far as other trade missions, I often talk about diversifying the economy. That is not only through our sector diversification, but this is encouraging and supporting our companies to diversify their markets. Recently, the Premier and I returned from Asia. This was her first trade mission to Asia. I do want to point out how closely we work with Calgary Economic Development. Mary was with us on that mission in both China and Japan. And I can tell you that Alberta business from a variety of sectors have new opportunities to collaborate, attract investment, and expand their access to international markets. Last fall, I was very proud to lead the largest trade delegation in Alberta's history. We had over 80 businesses and business organizations that came with me to Asia, where we met with more than 1,200 potential partners, customers, and investors. And I can tell you that they were very excited to learn of the new pipeline approval. Asia is very, very hungry for our energy resources and have been eagerly anticipating and waiting for a pipeline to Tidewater for quite some time. And we know that new Canadian pipelines mean our world-class oil and gas producers are able to sell at world-class prices. I can tell you, if it's on your minds, I know it's been on the minds of few, that there's an election going on in British Columbia. The Premier yesterday was very, very clear that regardless of the outcome of the BC election, our case is very, very strong that getting the pipeline to Tidewater benefits not only Alberta, but also the residents of BC and, frankly, all of Canada. And we will continue to make that case, and I am confident that we will continue to be able to move forward on these two pipeline approvals. I'll close by mentioning a program that I want to ask your help in getting the word out. It's our Export Expansion Program. This is a direct supports through the Government of Alberta, partnering with a lot of our organizations to help Alberta businesses break into new markets. It is absolutely critical if we want to build a resilient, diversified economy. And so there are 3 different programs within that. One of them helps companies if they are in their infancy, and as far as exporting or breaking into a new market, there are dollars and supports available. And as I've been mentioning to a few people tonight or today, it's not just about getting dollars to help support our businesses. It's about connecting them with the right people who have the right advice and expertise to be able to support them and show them how to break into new markets, how to navigate, whether it's regulation, taxation, cultural barriers, language barriers. And so I really want to encourage Alberta businesses to look to expanding their markets. I can tell you that 95% of Alberta businesses only do business in Alberta. So as you can realize, when we are faced in a downturn or in a recession, that is going to have a significant impact on our businesses. When we look at the percentage of Alberta businesses that export outside of North America, that number drops to less than 1%. If we want to help our businesses become more resilient and diversify their markets, then they need to take advantage of the supports and the programs that are available. And so I would encourage you to visit the jobsplan.alberta.ca website to learn about all of the different initiatives that we have, the supports that are available. We have 12 international offices with highly qualified staff on the ground that are there to help identify potential investors, businesses that want to partner to ensure that our businesses maximize their time when they are looking at breaking into new markets. But again, these programs are only successful if we help get the word out, and so I would encourage you to help spread the word. So before I leave you to the rest of your meal and the rest of the program, I just want to point out a couple of staff that I have here. First, I have Les Chung, who's in my office, and then also Elvira from the Ministry of Economic Development and Trade. She's standing, is here as well. And I strongly encourage you, if you have any questions about the programs or supports that are available, to reach out to my ministry. The Ministry of Economic Development and Trade was created to help support Alberta businesses, whether it's helping you here in the province or, again, to navigate through other markets. And so I'm very proud of the work that we do and the supports that we give to our businesses. But unless our businesses are taking advantage of them, it's not going to get us the results that we need. So in closing, I want to say that our government wants to continue to work with our partners, including Calgary Economic Development, to ensure that our actions align with the needs of Albertans, and that we will continue to promote our province, support our businesses, and ensure that we are making the lives of Albertans better every day. So thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Minister. Nice to put a face to the name. Looking around, I missed a couple of politicians. I apologize to them. MLA Karen McPherson, you're here. Give us a wave. Right here, right down in front. Great, thanks. And Mayor Peter Brown from Airdrie's here. Where are you, Mayor? There you are, right there. Okay, good. Whew. It's like a politician petting zoo. Come up and talk to them. It's a rare opportunity, really, to come say hi to them. Now, you may have been looking around thinking, where's Mayor Nenshi? Sadly, he got called away to a family funeral, so he's not with us today, but he's been a big supporter of this event over the years, so he sent a video. Can we see the Mayor's video?
Hi, I'm Nahid Nenshi, Mayor of Calgary, and I'm sorry that I can't be with you in person at this year's report to the community. Unfortunately, I've had a family emergency and I've been called out of town at the last minute. But the good news is that means for once this year, I'm not going to steal Mary Moran's entire speech before she has a chance to make it. So I'll leave it to Mary to give you some specifics on some of the exciting things that are going on from my colleagues at Calgary Economic Development, but also in the community as a whole. We've been through a rough couple of years. Still today, far too many of our neighbors are feeling the pain of unemployment and uncertainty about the future. But it's springtime, and we're seeing green shoots all over the place. And those green shoots are not just in the price of oil, and they're not just in the approval of much delayed and much needed energy infrastructure, including pipelines. But they're also green shoots in other parts of the economy. And so that's why today is all about innovation. My colleagues at Calgary Economic Development have been working on 6 industries, or 6 verticals if you like, areas where Calgary is already very strong, but could be much stronger. Those are agri-food and agribusiness, travel and tourism, transportation and logistics, financial services, clean energy, clean tech and renewables, and the creative industries. We have a lot of room to grow in each of these areas. But the reason that today is all about innovation is because all 6 of those are underpinned by innovation, by technology, and by new ways of doing things. So I hope that you'll enjoy walking through the Innovation Alley and seeing a bunch of the crazy things that Calgary companies are doing right here and selling to the world. I hope that you will enjoy the Innovation Pachakacha, that is harder to say than it looks, to get some great new ideas on innovative things that are going on here in Calgary, which has always been the per capita leader in Canada of startups, and also things you can take back to your organizations. It's going to be a great day. I want to say a special thank you to Mary Moran and my colleagues at Calgary Economic Development for the great work they do. A special thank you to all their industry partners who have been working so hard with us on crafting this new and more resilient future for Calgary, because we will, in fact, get to that better and more resilient future. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry I wasn't up here. He doesn't usually speak that briefly. Well done, Mayor Nenshi. Our next speaker, they keep talking about this woman named Mary. Have you heard her referred to in a few speeches? Her name is Mary Moran. I'm sure many of the room know Mary. She comes on the eye opener frequently if we promise her coffee. She has a thing for coffee. She was just down in Silicon Valley. She seems to go to San Francisco, Seattle, any place with coffee. Mary will go there looking for business. Luckily, she's in Calgary today, and she has a few words for us. Mary, come on.
Thanks very much, David. And sorry, I had to bring a drugstore because I have a cold, so hopefully I can get through this. And I have to say that I'm just so happy to be standing upright right now because for those of you who have seen me in the last couple of days, I've been more or less leaning on podiums and ended up horizontal with a back injury. So I'm just delighted to be standing up and being able to look at people in the eyes. David, I just want to comment on the coffee thing to start off with. You have to remember that when we do interviews or have conversations, it's usually at 6 a.m. So coffee in a city is actually quite critical for me. So in order for me to get through your hard line of questioning. So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Calgary Economic Development's report to the community. This is the one opportunity every year that we are able to tell our story about what we've done over the last year, where we're going, and certainly thank all the people that have helped us along the way. David thanked our sponsors, but I also want to extend my personal thanks and sincere appreciation to them too. We couldn't do these events without the sponsors, and most of the sponsors today are actually Action Calgary partners, and so we are doubly grateful for them. Our Action Calgary partners provide many of the 120 volunteers that we have on our 8 advisory committees who work tirelessly to help us get down to the nuts and bolts of economic development, and we greatly appreciate the effort that you have made. I also want to make a special thank you to our board of directors for their time and their guidance to help CED keep on track and keep focused. In particular, I'd like to acknowledge Steve Allen, who is entering into his 4th year as board chair. Steve is an invaluable mentor, and he's definitely an inspiring leader to everybody at Calgary Economic Development. And I'd like to express my appreciation for Rollin Stanley, who from the City of Calgary, as well as Eric Axford from Suncor, who are actually completing their term today. They've been incredibly supportive of the work that we've been doing, not just this year, but in the years prior as they fulfilled their term. And finally, I'd like to welcome Alice Reimer, who is a serial tech entrepreneur and the former chair of Startup Calgary, who's joining our board today. David listed all the politicians joining us here, and I want to thank you on behalf of Calgary, everybody at Calgary Economic Development for the enormous support that you have provided us and for taking the time to join us today. And of course, I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to Minister Billis. I'm actually pretty sure that Minister Billis is getting really sick of seeing me. We've spent about 3 out of the last 4 weeks, and I think he's actually seen me more than I've seen my family. We just got back from a trade mission to China and Japan with Premier Notley late last week. And before that, as Minister Billis mentioned, we were in Silicon Valley with Mayor Nenshi, talking to companies that were looking for opportunities north of the border. On these trips, I've witnessed firsthand the value of governments working together. It has quite an impact when you go into a market and you can lead with the strength of the Canada brand, you can show the commitment from the province, and then you can demonstrate how we can activate the opportunity at a municipal level. This travel, as it does for most of us, gives me a great appreciation for the opportunities that exist today in the city. Another thing that's been reinforced to me during my travels is the fact that all cities face challenging times, but it's really about how they respond that matters. Great cities are always reinventing, recreating, and reimagining themselves, and Calgary is no different. We are truly building on our strengths, the strengths of our people, the strengths that we've learned in the energy industry, and certainly the strength of our history of embracing entrepreneurial thinking and innovation. But I can also tell you from my travels that things are moving at an incredibly high speed. In spite of what people think, it no longer takes 3 years for a deal to be done on a trade mission. Whether it's Silicon Valley or whether it's been China, the companies that we pitch, most of them are actually sending us emails before we've even left the parking lot. Well, of course, in China, they don't use emails. They just use WeChat, which is kind of like Facebook for business. But they are contacting us almost immediately. Now, I find the speed of things things happening is certainly exhilarating, but it's also forcing Calgary Economic Development to step up our game. And the staff at Calgary Economic Development has certainly responded to that call to action. We released our 2016 annual report today, titled Reimagine. There are copies, obviously, on your tables. And we use the word reimagine because it speaks to the opportunities in front of us, but it also reminds us, particularly me, who has the lowest patience in the world, that this is a bit of a process. 2016 was a pivotal year for Calgary Economic Development. We've had to reimagine how we've conducted our business. We're instilling a sales-oriented ethic, and Calgary Economic Development is leaving no stone unturned. We have to be aggressive, because for a lot of companies that we go in to pitch, Calgary's not even on their radar. They heard of us, they might have heard of us, they remember the Olympics, but we're also competing with so many other jurisdictions that are giving them the same pitch. Fortunately, with the city, the province, and the federal government giving us support with $10 million of one-time funding to be used over the next 3 years, we've been able to go to more places and pitch more companies. Now, although Calgary's 10-year economic strategy always acts as our beacon, our 3-year organizational strategy guides our day-to-day work. We are all very, very well aware that economic development doesn't start and stop with our organization. We can only succeed and provide this community with top-notch service through collaboration of our partners. In 2016, that collaborative approach allowed us to open a $28 million film center. And we continue to work with the Government of Alberta on the programs and the policies to attract the right projects and to the film center. Film and television production creates a significant number of spin-off jobs, and with the award-winning crews, the beautiful, spectacular vistas that we have in this region, we are confident that industry can grow by 5 times what it is today. In total, Calgary Economic Development retained, supported, and attracted 37 companies, resulting in nearly 1,600 jobs in 2016. From supporting YYC, Calgary Airport, to secure Hainan Airlines' first non-stop flight from Beijing, to helping De Beers Canada move its headquarters here to Calgary, to retaining the TV show Fargo for the 3rd season in a row, to helping clean energy companies set up in our new global business center. Calgary Economic Development was always ready to serve. Recently, our organization, along with the Chamber, conducted a business confidence survey. 80% of the business community said that the oil and gas industry has fundamentally changed, and our economy must be more diversified. Even with the promise of new pipelines and the energy company once again posting profits in Q1, we know the industry has changed forever. But I'll tell you, and Minister Billis alluded to a number of the stats and facts, is that 2017 is definitely looking better. We can expect a return of economic growth. For Calgary, it's approximately 2.5%. And our GDP value is forecasted to reach over $117 billion, which is the same value of GDP that we had in 2013 prior to the recession. And in February, Alberta had a record oil production at more than 3.3 billion barrels a day. And at CED, we've already attracted, retained, and supported 20 companies by the end of April. That said, our population continues to grow. We've had 60,000 people move here since the recession started. And of course, we know that many of those people that have been displaced out of the energy industry want to stay here. And of course, with all those people displaced, we have 13 million square feet of office space in our downtown core that is vacant right now, which, by the way, is the entire size of downtown Vancouver. So we essentially have a city to sell. Then you throw on top of the mix the technological changes that are displacing people out of their jobs, the political complexity that is having an impact on international trade and talent mobility, particularly south of the border. As an organization, a city, and a province, we have no choice but to reimagine how jobs will be created and how people will work. In addition to working with the City of Calgary on infrastructure, very strategic infrastructure investments in the coming years, there are 4 big files on my desk. The first one being the innovation ecosystem, the second one being workforce, the third being trade and investment, and the fourth being new company attraction. Let me start with innovation ecosystem. Over the years, we've developed an exceptional ecosystem in the energy sector for all of the innovation that occurs below the ground. And that's been done through the collaboration of organizations, post-secondaries, and through the leadership of great organizations like COSIA. But we need that type of ecosystem to support all of the above-the-ground innovation that needs to take place as well. After all, technology is no longer a sector. It's a way of doing business, and we need to digitize all of our core industries. Now, I want to be clear. In spite of CBC reporting, I don't think we're going to become the Silicon Valley North. David, I'll make it up to you later. Our play is much different than that. We're not Vancouver, and we're not Waterloo. And it's highly unlikely that you will hear about me pitching Facebook. Now, if they came knocking at my door, you can be guaranteed I'd answer. But I can tell you that Calgary has been so welcomed in places like Silicon Valley because of the industrial Internet of Things. Calgary is a prime market for this. If you think about the first wave of the Internet, we were able to connect a desktop to a server, and then you think about the next wave of Internet where we had mobile devices and we have the cloud. But the third wave is really about connecting the 50 billion devices worldwide by 2020. That's 2.5 years away. And 70% of those devices are going to be developed in industrial sectors or healthcare by using big data, artificial intelligence, machine learning, cybersecurity to make real-time decisions. There's an opportunity to digitize all of our key sectors, and we must do it. We will only remain competitive by being more efficient, more effective, and more productive. And above-ground innovation is the solution. Silicon Valley looks to this market, and they know that we have the talent that understands where that data needs to be collected, why it needs to be collected, and when it needs to be collected. They also know that we have the highest concentration of head offices in the country. Those are potential clients. And they know that we have entrepreneurial capital that sits in here with the highest concentration of millionaires in Canada that typically have been really good at investing in the below-the-ground innovation, but not necessarily on the above-the-ground innovation. There's a lot of great work being done on this with the GE Innovation Center and Zone Startups, but we still have a lot of work to do. And part of that work is just building a culture of innovation and trust so we can allow startups to really thrive here. We're working on a community movement with entrepreneurs and innovation. You heard Minister Billis refer to it as the Rainforest Group. And this group is committed to developing the softer side of innovation. I would strongly encourage you to see what the movement is all about and check them out at rainforestab.ca. In that same regard, Calgary Economic Development is so pleased to announce that Startup Calgary is being folded into our organization today. I'll wait for you guys to clap. I'm incredibly excited about this because we know that with a more sustainable funding model, that organization can do some great work. They can focus on the programming that is so greatly required for early stage innovation, ideation, and will allow some of our incredibly talented workers to focus on new opportunities. Now, speaking of workforce, we know that Calgary has one of the best educated workforces in Canada. And it is truly our most valuable resource. And we know that people want to stay here. We've only had 6,000 people leave here since the recession. And of course, people are still moving here. But maybe we shouldn't be surprised. Economist Unit consistently ranks us the 5th best place in the world to live. And a study through Harvard Business Review just recently listed us as the 9th best city for workers. Number 10 is San Francisco. You can believe me, I take every opportunity to tell our friends in Silicon Valley that we're a better place to live. But we know we have short and long-term workforce challenges. The short-term challenge is to get some of these displaced workers re-engaged and retrained. And the long-term challenge really boils down to, are we ready for the new economy and the Internet of Things, where workers will be replaced by drones, machines, and robots? To address some of the short-term needs, we're running a re-engage program. And this program has taught them everything from how to start a business to how do you pivot to more high-tech opportunities. And recently, we ran a coding school with Lighthouse Labs out of Silicon Valley. We had space for 150 people. 165 showed up the day, and of course, we made room for them. 700 people were on the waiting list. Amazing. Needless to say, we'll be doing it again. And although our post-secondaries are adapting and expanding their entrepreneurial programs and their innovation programs and their artificial intelligence programs, for the longer term, we're going to work with those post-secondaries as well as Alberta Labour to say, what are the skills gaps that we're going to have in the future? With a program called Skills Calgary 2020. Now, new economy or old, jobs in Canada are always going to be dependent on finding new markets. Exploring new markets has never been more important for Calgary and Alberta, as Minister Billis referred to. And we certainly saw the proof of that yesterday, I guess it was it 2 days ago, when WestJet ordered 10 new 787 Dreamliners from Boeing to expand international operations. With unpredictable policy making, both our federal government and our provincial government, as you heard today, are committed to shoring up their efforts on international trade and investment. Ottawa is sending signals of commitments and trade agreements to the key markets, regardless of what happens in south of the border. And they also announced the Foreign Investment Hub. And of course, Minister Billis' team is promoting trade initiatives by the programs that he stated today, including Export Support Fund, the Export Readiness Micro Voucher Program, and of course, Global Buyers Investor Program. In just over a year, CED has been to China and Asia 3 times with the government of Alberta, where over 30 agreements were signed, including one between Calgary Economic Development and Invest Shanghai. We are the only city in Canada that has signed an agreement with Shanghai. And these agreements are not just in the energy industry, they're also in tourism, they're in financial services, they're in agribusiness, they're in clean tech, they're in retail. And frankly, one of my favorite trade stories in this last year is in retail, with our Action Calgary Corite International. They're a gemstone and jewelry company here in Calgary that actually won the bid to do the 150-year pin, or 150-year anniversary pin, which I'm sporting today. Last November was the first time that they'd ever been to China. Sorry, last March was the first time that they had been to China, and by November they had signed an agreement with a distributor that has 3,000 retail stores, which means tens of millions of dollars in increased or incremental sales for them. It just goes to show you how fast things are moving. And just a week ago, I was standing in this enormous Costco in Tokyo, and no, I wasn't buying bulk lettuce, to see a massive display by Sunterra on their pork product. And I learned over the course of the week that Canada pork, most of which comes from the Alberta market, has 40% of the market share in Japan. That is a market with 3 times the population of Canada. These guys can hardly keep up. The opportunities are so significant. And I think they're endless for many companies here in Calgary. And we're here to help. We're here to help you navigate the complexity of entering into new markets. Through our Global Business Center, we offer support that will help you determine if you're export or investment ready, and will take you into those markets. Now finally, tight labor markets, rising housing costs, and immigration policies around the continent are opening the door for Calgary to attract new companies and satellite offices. This has been a big effort for us in the last year. Our immediate focus is on Silicon Valley and the Pacific Northwest because we're way closer than they think. Once we convince them that we're not beside Waterloo and we're only a 1 to 2 hour flight, they get keenly interested in our talent and keenly interested in our quality of life and keenly interested in our entrepreneurial spirit. Whether they're trying to get ahead of President Trump's immigration ban, or they're just in growth mode, they see Calgary as a great market, and I can tell you we're on more people's radar than we ever have been. With very detailed research, plus a new process that we've introduced into our organization on web to leads. So people on our website, if they're showing interest, they show up more than 1 time, maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 10, that we actually make cold calls to those groups. And we're actually getting a response. We're targeting new companies in other parts of the US. We're targeting Mexico, Europe, India, and of course we remain very committed to China, Japan, and South Korea. Now, you may have heard that we've been in Ottawa lobbying to bring the Canada Infrastructure Bank here. And thanks to many of the people in the room, we were able to do a grassroots campaign and collected over 80 letters addressed to the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance from companies in Alberta, across Alberta. Now, whether we eventually get the bank or not, and by the way, somebody will have to hold me that day as I cry, I'll tell you one thing, is Ottawa is acutely aware of the full spectrum of what this city has to offer. We were respectful in our campaign, and they paid attention. And they're not the only ones. Our organization currently has 250 leads in the pipeline. And we have non-disclosures with over 10 companies. The sales pipeline is incredibly full right now. And I can tell you, my team is proudly telling Calgary's story. And this is where you come in. Research has consistently found Calgarians are the best people to tell our story. So I have an ask of you. First of all, let us know if there are cool companies that support our pitch as an innovative city. 2, if you know a company that you think would be better placed in Calgary, then let us know. We're happy to do that pitch. And 3, keep telling your friends, your family, and your business associates across the country about the great things that are happening here. Like I said, economic development doesn't stop and start with us. So your support is greatly appreciated. Now we're about to show you a short video that showcases some of the cool things in addition to what you saw out in the Innovation Alley. And then you're going to hear, in a very rapid fashion, from 5 companies that are reimagining their industries. They, along with many others, are helping reposition Calgary as a center of innovative, creative, and entrepreneurial energy, where anything is possible. Thank you for your time today, and thank you for the honor and opportunity to serve your community during these challenging times. Enjoy the rest of the program.
How do we rise? We invent, discover, and originate. We conceive, concoct, and create. We devise, design, and formulate. Forge, fashion, and fabricate. We collaborate and cooperate. We cultivate and elaborate. We communicate and educate. We streamline and accelerate. Then, celebrate. Wait, time to update. Upgrade, upsize, improve, modernize, restructure, reorganize, replicate, and energize. Time to increase and advance, enrich, enhance, expand, refine, refresh, reuse, clean and green, recycle, upcycle. Evolution, revolution, innovation. How do we rise? We re-engage, reinvent, reimagine.
Can I have our 5 speakers come up? They can sit behind us here. Why don't we do that? Get you up on stage, because you're not nervous enough sitting there, not touching your lunches. You should come up here. Thank you, Mary, for those words. Much appreciated. I'm pretty sure I said we're Comic-Con North, not Silicon North. Well, we can talk about that later. So this is the Pachakacha part of the afternoon presentation. So we've heard a lot of buzzwords, a lot of boosterism. It's time to actually hear from companies what they're actually doing to make a difference. So the Pachakacha format again, each of these speakers will get 7 minutes to talk, just 7 minutes. They get 20 slides, 20 seconds per slide. If you think it's easy, try it at home. I think it's great that they've agreed to do this. On stage, we have Axia, NMAX, Agrium, Dirt, must be the bow tie, and Make Fashion up here. So I think we'll start with Gillian Frechette from Axia, and then you guys will just take it away. Are you ready? All right, encourage them, please.
Good afternoon. Thank you, David. My name is Gillian Frechette, and I'm with Axia, and I'm ready to go. As a native of Toronto, it pains me to say this, but what I love most about Alberta is its ability to find, in the face of adversity, a source of strength and resilience that allows it to recover stronger than ever. You see, for one reason or another, Albertans seem to understand better than most that without adversity, the impetus to change, to innovate, to reimagine is never quite as strong. And today, on the heels of one of the most challenging economic times in a generation, as we collectively reimagine the future of Alberta's economy, I'd like to share a story that is uniquely Albertan, a story about how we saw an opportunity, took a chance, made something big happen, a story about how we staked a leadership position in the digital economy of the future. After all, it would be hard to imagine the future of Alberta's economy without reflecting on the profound impact of the digital revolution. Technology has become the central axis around which traditional notions of business, learning, communication, and engagement are being redefined. Businesses and people across the globe are enhancing their use of technology in unique ways to drive innovation and discovery, boost productivity, and improve our quality of life. Between the falling cost of advanced technologies, the proliferation of internet-connected devices, and the rise of cloud computing, our lives are becoming increasingly networked and connected in ways that present unbridled possibility. Yet not long ago, our province was ill-prepared for the future we are seeing unfolding today. For years, many rural communities across Alberta were left sitting on the shoulders of the digital highway. They were faced with frustrating status quo, paying more for less and unable to access the kinds of internet speeds that so many households and businesses in urban areas counted on to stay connected and competitive. I know for most of us in this room, it is hard to imagine not being able to download an e-textbook, conduct a job interview over Skype, and yes, even binge-watch Netflix. But for hundreds of thousands of Albertans, this was their reality. Only a handful of service providers could offer internet access outside of Calgary and Edmonton, and no one had access to the kinds of speeds that we take for granted today. In effect, because of network deficiencies and a lack of investment, we were sidelining a huge contingent of our population from engaging in the broader global economy. Fortunately, more than a decade ago, we had the foresight to plant the seeds of our future economic growth. In a visionary move ahead of its time, Axia and the government of Alberta partnered to create Alberta's SuperNet, a speed-of-light, reliable fiber network that connects urban centers and rural Albertans not only with each other, but with the world around them. Made up of more than 13,000 kilometers of fiber, Alberta's SuperNet now connects 429 communities to internet speeds above and beyond what most large urban centers in North America have access to. Leveraging the SuperNet, Axia has continued to build, and our network is growing. This past September, we announced that we would invest $100 million to connect 40 more underserved communities across Alberta to our fiber network. We did this because we believed in a simple premise, that you should have the fastest, most reliable internet service regardless of where you live. And today, thanks to the fiber network that Axia operates and continues to build, Alberta is by far the most connected province in Canada, boasting internet speeds well above the national average. At Axia, the reason that we are so focused on bridging the digital divide is because we know that in the 21st century, in this age of innovation and technology, so much of the prosperity that we are striving for depends on the health of our digital economy. Moreover, much of the diversification that we hope to see in our provincial economy will be enabled by the state-of-the-art infrastructure that we can freely access. Take agriculture, for example, an industry that has been a pillar of Alberta competitiveness for generations. As the global population continues to swell, Alberta's agriculture producers can play a leading role in feeding a hungry world. But in order to do that, in order to realize the productivity gains and yields necessary to keep pace with demand, Alberta's farms need to be wired up like laboratories. Moisture sensors need to be planted, data points need to be collected by a computer in the cloud for analysis, and the results need to be passed back to the farm's irrigation system to provide crops with the exact amount of water necessary, no more, no less. Can you imagine that level of precision agriculture ever being possible without the virtues of a modern, sophisticated fiber network blanketing our rural communities? Or what about energy transition? As our power sector begins to transition to a more sustainable energy system and our electric utilities work to modernize our grid, does anyone doubt the critical importance of fiber-enabled information and communications technologies as part of that transition? How about tourism? iPhones have certainly made that dreaded wake-up call obsolete, but you can rest assured the first question a guest asks a concierge upon arrival is what the Wi-Fi password is. The point of this uniquely Albertan story is that fiber is the fabric of a modern economy and our most important link to the great big world around us. And we are fortunate enough to live in a province that had the foresight to build that competitive advantage for us in advance. And the best part is, Not only is fiber the lifeblood of today's economy, it's future-proof. Nothing, including data, can travel faster than the speed of light. So Albertans can count on generations of children who learn faster, families that stay closer, businesses that work and communicate more efficiently, doctors who heal better, and teachers who teach more immersively. Whatever facet of human endeavor it might be, no matter how rural, remote, or far-flung your corner of Alberta is, in our province, we are constrained only by the limits of our imagination. Alberta is ready for the digital economy. The only question that remains is, are you?
So good afternoon, everyone. I have just less than 7 minutes to talk to you about energy, specifically electricity, and how it has been intrinsically linked to our economic development and our standard of life, and will continue to be so into the future. But first, a little trip in the Wayback Machine. We're going to go back more than a century as cities were just starting to electrify. It was Tesla versus Edison. They called it the War of the Currents. It was the first performance of AC/DC, which may come as a bit of a surprise to you rock fans from the 80s. It started in our city centers, in the cores, and spread to wealthy neighborhoods, and then moved out into the suburbs and eventually into rural areas. These electrified nodes that were connected, making up a system that spanned our countryside, what we call the grid. And it's changed the way we live and work and play forever. It was the backbone of innovation. It allowed all sorts of new products and services. Think about when perhaps your grandparents got their first electric washing machine, or even refrigerator or radio, and what that meant to their lives. Labor savings and efficiency, improved health, connectedness. And that trend has continued. It's just different stuff now. It's tablets and smartphones and the internet as communication networks and control systems, and all of these things driving us forward and making us more effective and efficient, with the possible exception of that Pokemon Go thing. I'm going to call that an unintended consequence of a good idea. And we did this by building big infrastructure. We had large generating facilities, typically burning coal, and we pushed ever more energy out to our customers year after year after year. It really was what I'm going to call power to the people. And it's not about voting, it's literally getting power to the people. And we're pretty good at it. But we now have new challenges and goals. We have to reduce our emissions. We have to use our non-renewable resources more effectively. And we got to manage that in our system. We're seeing new technology, like renewables, come of age, which are going to play an ever-increasing role in our energy system today. Solar and wind being perfect examples of this. And it's going to be up to us to figure out how we integrate new technology with our existing technologies, like natural gas generation, and make sure it all still works effectively and continues us on a path forward. We're also going to see new alternatives, things like distributed generation and battery storage and advanced control systems that are going to be in our homes and our businesses and in the energy system throughout. It's going to change when and how we use energy. And in fact, it's going to require a system that goes both ways. Energy won't be one way anymore. We're also seeing new technology drive different demands. We're on the verge of a revolution in electrified transportation, which is going to change how we fuel our personal mobility as well as the collective. We have to get ready for this. We have to be able to take advantage of it. Now, the good news is, it's not totally new. The city of Calgary made a commitment more than 10 years ago to power its transportation infrastructure with renewables. We in Calgary ride the wind. And of course, they continued that leadership position by committing to powering all of their facilities with renewables. One of the first for cities in North America. So I think I'd characterize this as a journey that we're on. And it's a track we need to keep going down. We need to build on the leadership position that we have to maintain our competitiveness and attractiveness in the markets. It's things like continuing to adopt new technologies, things like LED streetlights that provide the same service at less cost. And I kind of like the metaphor, technology lighting our path forward. We have a huge opportunity in distributed renewables, where we can do rooftop solar connected to homes and businesses that will power them and ultimately be connected to our grid. And of course, it's up to us to make sure that we can integrate this safely and effectively and efficiently and take advantage. But we also have to think about the bridging technology. We have to go from today to tomorrow. We have to use our non-renewable resources as efficiently and as effectively as we can, because we're going to need them for quite some time. Boiler optimization in district energy systems and implementing combined heat and power are just two examples of how we can merge the old with the new. At ENMAX, we have a long history of working with energy infrastructure, and that's not going to change. We're still going to have wires and transformers and the things that we're very comfortable with, but we're also going to have new infrastructure. We're going to have multifaceted infrastructure that can produce heat and electricity and be a host for new technologies like battery storage and distributed generation. It's how we can push ahead and meet our goals. And of course, we're highly motivated at ENMAX to work with the City of Calgary in meeting its goals, whether it's projects like this rooftop solar system on the Southland Leisure Centre or providing electrical services to the LRT here in the city. We can keep moving that forward, and we can take that out to the benefit of the whole community, not just the city. And let's remember, there is life beyond Stony Trail. What we do here in Calgary, with our expertise and our capacity, we can take beyond to other communities in Alberta. Like many of you in the room, we're interested in that, and we look to it, and we have some good examples of it. And in fact, if any of you ever happen to fly into the Edmonton airport, I'd encourage you to look out your window about a minute before you land, and there's a perfect visual expression of just that. So here we are, though, in Calgary. We are the center of all things energy, and we have the opportunity and the skill to reimagine what our energy system and our electricity system needs to look like to move ahead. And I will just leave you with this. The minister actually did a bunch of my work earlier. I will welcome our new neighbor at our Shepherd Energy System, because this is where we need to go, and this is where we're going to go. Thanks very much.
Hi and welcome, everyone. I'm wondering how many of you arrived here today in your self-driving cars? Maybe doing some last-minute work on your presentation? Well, not me, and probably not any of you either, but today's farmer is using auto-steer tractors, GPS technology, and satellites to put in the crop. This is one of the examples. This is Larry Williams. He farms up by Airdrie, Alberta, and he's using auto-steer to prevent overlaps. Preventing overlaps improves the efficiency, the time, and the costs on his farm. Agriculture is the most innovative sector in the Canadian economy. Well, I might be somewhat biased. I work for Agrium. Agrium is a Calgary-based company with a global reach. We employ over 16,000 people and supply farmers with the products that they need. We make about 11 million tons of fertilizer, we breed seeds, and we provide all the products and services that a farmer needs to grow their crops. Our vision is to help feed the world more responsibly. Canola is Canada's leading economic crop. It generates 1/4 of all farm cash receipts. Canola seed obviously is for canola oil, but did you know that the canola meal is animal feed and that Canada exports 90% of the canola it produces? One of our businesses is seed breeding, and a particular problem is a disease called clubroot on canola. Our breeders are trying to breed resistance into that seed, and they work out of Saskatoon at a research facility, but with the University of Alberta, U of Manitoba, as well as having worldwide partners in collaboration. It takes more than 10 years and $150 million to bring new seeds to market. Another innovation for Agrium is controlled release fertilizer. We put a polymer coating of plastic over top of the fertilizer, and that controls the time and the rate at which fertilizer is released into the soil, ensuring more of those nutrients get into the plant and less is left behind in the soil where it might be lost. We cover the fertilizer with the plastic coating, and what happens is as the soil warms up, then moisture is able to penetrate that coating. It dissolves that nutrient, the nutrient moves out into the soil, and the plant roots are able to pick that nutrient up. It's a timed or a temperature-controlled release. And the mechanism works well because plant roots also start to grow as the soil warms up. The nutrients are there just when the plant needs them, and we call that an environmentally smart nitrogen. We make about 500,000 tons of this product at Carsland, Alberta, just south of Calgary. We also make it down in the US and provide it to farmers all across North America. And Agrium's not the only one investing in technology. When you see this in the field this spring, that's a $1 million investment in tractors, seeders, monitors, and it's not just the equipment investment. You have to think about the investment in knowledge that the farmers are making, as well as the supporting industries that provide the services. Innovation in agriculture is happening at a very fast pace. And a lot of farmers go to school in the summer. They attend field schools. This is the Crop Production Services School at Didsbury, and at the field schools, the scientists meet the farmers out in the field. They talk about the innovation and the performance in the field. And just like every other industry, agriculture is digitized. So we have a digital farming data system for precision farming that we call Echelon. And you can see that we're creating a yield map, and the yield map shows the farmer where the crop is performing well in the field and where we need to improve. Precision farming tools help farmers treat different parts of the field differently. And the aim here is to help the farmers get the most efficient use of all their resources, including the land resource. There's a lot of pressure on farmers today. Farmers want to ensure that their operations are sustainable and continue to be sustainable for the next generations. It's not enough just to know what's happening in their fields, but they also want to know how what they're doing is affecting the environment as well as society as a whole. The farmer is the steward of the land. They're making the land management decisions. But every one of you in this room is a stakeholder in agriculture. People want to know how their food's being grown and what the impacts are. And that's the challenge for agriculture. How will we produce more food on the same or a shrinking agricultural land base while maintaining the integrity of the natural resources that we all rely on? In 1987, the world population was 5 billion people. And currently, we're around 7 billion people. By 2050, so when your kindergarten children are in their 40s, there will be 9 billion people on the earth. We're going to need to increase food production by somewhere between 60 and 70%. And land is a scarce resource. Looking at the land base, the orange areas that you can see on that map are suitable for crop production. And the green areas are suitable only for pasture, livestock, and grazing. So there's about 10% of the world's land that's suitable for growing crops, but in total, we grow food on 40% of the land base by using livestock to make use of those areas that aren't suited to crop production. Another limited resource, farmers. In 1940, 1 in 3 people lived on a farm, but today it's less than 2%. So it's a very limited number of people that actually have direct on-farm knowledge. For that reason, Agrium's got a core value of youth education. Seed Survivor is one of our education programs, and it was developed in conjunction with Calgary Stampede. We have 5 displays that travel North America in addition to the location here in Calgary at the Stampede grounds. Journey 2050 and Caring for Our Watersheds, 2 more flagship youth education programs in agriculture. Agriculture is a vital part of the Alberta economy. It generates $28.2 billion in primary agricultural production and processed foods and manufacturing. Farm cash receipts from primary agricultural production in Alberta, $13.6 billion, 25% of the Canadian primary agricultural production. So when I think of the future of farming, I think about data systems, I think about IT, I think about seed and biological technologies, and how important it is to educate that next generation of decision makers, And we're on a journey. We're looking for partners in that, and we hope you'll join us. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. How are you? My name is David Brown, and I am a dirtbag. My wife has been right for 24 years. So I work for a company called DIRT. DIRT is an acronym. It's doing it right this time. So if we're doing it right this time, what did we do before? We did it wrong. Exactly. So what are we doing wrong before? We were doing construction wrong. Construction is a broken... It's an industry that needs to be fixed. So we have three geniuses that worked for our company that started it off. We have an incredible business visionary. He's a bit of a maverick. His name is Mogan Smed. We have a gentleman by the name of Jeff Gosling, who's our engineer, our mad scientist. And then we have Barry Loberg, who created our software. Now, why do we need to fix construction? Look at this, 100 million tons a year. That's construction waste in North America. So just visualize it. Take the Empire State Building, that's 102 floors, fill it up, top to bottom with construction waste, and then do that 40 more times. 20% of that is drywall. So you got waste. You got waste of money. Every time somebody gives you a bid, they are 10 to 15% underwater. And we play this little game like we pretend it's okay. We know the price is going to go up, but we just think, that's no problem. Name one other industry where we accept that. If you were buying an Infiniti, and you said, okay, $40,000, it's this kind of car, we're going to show up, and you show up a month later, and it's a Ford Windstar, and the price is doubled, and it's still going to be another month, would you buy that vehicle? No, it's ridiculous. So why do we do that with construction? We had to think differently. So the other issue that's happening right now is labor. For every 4 people that are retiring, 4 baby boomers that have hundreds of years of experience combined in the trades, every 4 people that are retiring, 1 person coming out of trade school. If it's tough to find trades right now, it is going to be virtually impossible in the next 5 to 10 years. Who put this slide up here? Okay, why is this slide here? We're a software company. This is where our ICE software, the software that powers everything that we do, it came from Doom. Doom is fun, it's interactive, it's instant, it's easy to play, it's very visual. That's our ICE software. So ICE has 4 platforms. I'm not very bright, so I always bucket everything. So we have cost precision. Imagine working in construction and knowing to the penny what your construction solutions are going to cost. We can design in real time. You don't have to guess anymore about what you're going to be working in or living in, or your hospital or your school. And instantaneous manufacturing and instantaneous information that comes up. So right here, this is an architect's plan. We partner with architects. It's called ICE because it melts with other software. I know, super cheesy, right? But regardless, we take SketchUp or AutoCAD or Revit or any of these design softwares, we bring it into ICE and we build it up. This is a rendering. This isn't an actual office. We have photorealistic rendering, so you can design in real time. Imagine if you go through and you say, you know what, we want to change something in our office. We want to change the way it looks. We want to shape, form, and function differently. You can do it instantaneously. From a specification, manufacturing, and engineering, the second you design anything in our software, you get to see exactly what you're getting. Again, this really helps out the architects, the designers. Our job is to make the entire construction process, from pre-construction design all the way through to installation, seamless and easier. This is the construction site of the future. This is in our factory. This is one of our CNC, so computer numeric coding machines. We design something in ICE instantaneously. All the information gets down to our machines. It's clean, it's safe. I mean, it's not entirely accurate. We only specify to the thousandth of an inch. I mean, right? I love Lego. Who here loves Lego? Everyone loves Lego. That's ICE. You get to design and create something that's never been done before. We don't have SKUs. We don't have modules. All you do is you design what makes sense for you. Why settle for something that's already been done? Create something that's spectacular. Cost precision drives me nuts. Literally, my contractor, who's my brother-in-law, I call it the metric system. He says it's going to be 10,000. I double it and add 30. You never know. He must not like me. But you know what? You never know what it's going to cost, and it's so frustrating. Now you have cost accuracy instantaneously. We've never taken a price increase, and we never will. So you guys are all sitting out there saying BS. You create these incredible interior solutions. Who cares if you're cost effective if you're 5 or 10 times more expensive for a school or a hospital or a home or an office? Here's the thing. It all depends on where do you want to spend your money. Do you want to spend your money on the material, the stuff that's actually going to stay behind the incredible, sustainable, reusable, beautiful, functional construction solutions, or do you want to spend it on labor? They get in their F-150s and they go to the next job site and you're left with drywall. You don't want that. You want something that's different. You have to reimagine something. Again, it's about saving time and saving money. We can take weeks or months off a construction schedule. Imagine if you're a revenue generating center or a school or a hospital. If we can get heads into beds, if we can start teaching people sooner. Again, how do we do that? Prefabricated multi-trade construction. So this is a head wall for a hospital. 9 to 10 trades would have to work in a linear fashion to build this. Or you get 2 dirt bags, snap it up like Lego, gross oversimplification of what our technicians do, put on the head wall, and you're done. No mess, no fuss. So what does the future hold? It's all about virtual reality. So come to the back, see Melissa and Cassandra, come and talk to them about virtual reality. It's what we do. Again, we're just this weird tech company. HoloLenses. Next month, we're one of 30 companies in the world that are working with Microsoft on the future of HoloLenses. Where does dirt go from here? We're building homes. This is engineered wood. We built this home in less than 3 months just south of Calgary. 0 dumpsters on site the entire time. So that's the future of construction. My name's David, and I'm a dirtbag.
My name is Shannon Hoover. I may be the only one on the podium that has a cooler tie than David. I'm the founder of Make Fashion. 6 years ago, we started this crazy idea. We wanted to teach people about wearable technology, so we decided to have a fashion show. It sold out 2 weeks before the event, and then we started getting invites all over the world. So at this point, we've done about 50 shows throughout Europe, throughout Asia, all over North America. This is a shot from Maker Faire Shenzhen. It was an event with over 190,000 people, and we were one of the feature highlights of the show. The whole thing has been really surreal, but we've discovered some really important things. I'd like to just shout out to Kenzie at Table 76. She's one of the designers of this piece. This shows how innovation can happen when you bring designers and engineers together. These are a 2-dress pair, and it's called Gamer Girls. You can actually play games against each other on each other's dresses. How cool is that? We've been lucky enough to be able to collaborate and partner with some of the world's best companies, tech companies like Intel and Seed Studios, Forum Labs, and Google. But not only that, fashion companies are coming to us. The $30 billion fashion supply chain management company, Li & Fung, is working with us. Brother Sewing Machines. And we have teams from all over the world that are sending their pieces to us and working with us and showing on our runway in Calgary and abroad. Now, right now, it's common to see wearable technology and cybernetics being used in prosthetics. But we add fashion elements to that. And so that brings up 2 questions. One is, what role does human expression or aesthetics play in wearable devices? And the second one, how long will it be before cybernetic technology represents an advantage over the rest of us? This is Nadine. When I met Nadine, I saw her prosthetics. I felt like I couldn't enter into her experience, but look at her. When you look at that picture, do you see somebody that has a disability? Or do you see a badass who has a story to tell? Thank you. This is Make Block. This is a company in Shenzhen that we walked up to on Tuesday and said, we need to collaborate on a piece for Friday. They said yes. Dolphin is next to our engineer, Teddy, on the left. She was super excited to participate, but we discovered that we didn't have a model for the event. So we asked Dolphin. So this is engineer Dolphin. What's great about this story is that she had worked in a male-dominated industry for her entire life, never really saw herself as a woman. And here she is, showing that she is both a woman and an engineer. This has changed her life. She is leading Make Block's Women in STEM initiatives now. These are a group of students from Lord Beaverbrook High School. 8 students developed 2 pieces for a runway in April. 8 fashion students learned how to solder, learned 3D modeling, learned how to use laser cutting, learned how to 3D print in under 2 months. These are fashion students. Now, I'm going to get a little bit geeky on you here. This is a technology life cycle, okay? All technology goes through this process, except it's changing. Bow and arrow took 45,000 years to go through this process. The smartphone only 9 years. Well, you know what's happening? It's collapsing. Wearable technology, or new technologies are changing in the scope of 2 to 5 years. And wearable technology is a growing, rapidly changing industry. We're expected to be at about $34 billion by the year 2020. Glasses, watches, fitness bands, health accessories. But technologists are forgetting one really important stat. That stat is that the fashion industry is a $3 trillion industry. It's more significant than technology by several orders of magnitude, and technology companies are beginning to understand this. Apple is hiring executives from fashion companies. Misfits just sold to Swarovski Crystal, and we're starting to see fashion technology grow rapidly. Now, on the left here, we have a bunch of sensors. So this is kind of the basis of wearable technology. So imagine what you can do if you knew those things and then match them on the right. Kind of mix and match. This is what leads to innovation. So clothing that adjusts to heat. Maybe being able to hear a conversation across the room. And then where does that lead? This is where it leads, superpowers. Augmenting the human experience. And I'm not kidding here. Iron Man is an ecosystem of wearable technology. And we're seeing some of the technology that's being used here developed today. Wearable technology represents the evolution of humanity. So what other superpowers can we build? So telekinesis. On the left, we see somebody that's feeling objects being thrown at him. And he can, by using ultrasonic ping sensors, he can detect as they're being thrown and catches them blindfolded. On the right, she's got an EEG headset. She can literally command things to happen just by thinking about them. And we've experimented with both of these technologies with Make Fashion. What other superpowers? Strength, flight. These are actually being used today, and it seems in the last year, you can't go a month without seeing another hoverboard announcement or jetpack. This guy, Viz Rossi, flew across the English Channel using 2 peroxide engines strapped to carbon fiber wings in a backpack. Crazy. We're starting to see wearable technology infiltrate the performance scene. On the left, that's Imogen Heap. She is able to mix and create music just by moving around on a stage. So her body becomes the interface for creating music. On the right are 2 local Calgary musicians working with a local designer to make pieces that can be choreographed to music. Cybernetic Olympics happened in 2016, the first one. So how long is it before disability becomes obsolete? I have a disability, I can't see, I have a prosthetic, my glasses. But that's kind of been made obsolete. And you know what, we have some of the world leaders in IoT and wearables right here in the city. Dynastream led the way in wearable technology and in fitness, and Orpix is known internationally for their health-related wearables. And we have also had the great pleasure of working with the U of C, with ACAD, Olds College of Fashion Institute. And you know what? That's led to Calgary being one of the leaders in fashion technology. I know that is a surprise to everybody here, but we literally are. We get invited all over the world to do runway shows, and the leaders of that industry are right here today. We've got a young, open-minded, technically minded community. All we need is to help develop that culture of collaboration. I want to see more investment in new entrepreneurs and in collaborative workspaces. Thank you.
Well, I'm impressed. What a great idea, Calgary Economic Development, this Pachakacha idea. I think it was wonderful. I learned an awful lot. Did everybody else? You learned? It was great. Great work by all our presenters. I really want that tie. It's even cooler than my CBC branded socks, which are pretty cool. Is Bob Cummings around? Where are you, Bob? From WestJet? Oh, even better. We've got the business cards here. I was going to get Bob to do the draw, but would you like someone else to do the draw? I will. I'm going to do the draw, because you can trust me. Let the record show it's 1:30 on the dot, ladies and gentlemen. All right, the winner of 2 tickets to anywhere WestJet flies is Namita Rai from the University of Alberta, a program advisor from U of A. Where are you? Is she okay? Congratulations. Yeah, come on up. We'll give you your tickets. It's not enough your hockey team has to do better than ours. You got to win the tickets too. Thanks everybody for coming. It's been a great event. I hope you have a great rest of the day. If you're listening to the Eye Opener, we'll talk again Monday. So long.